Hello everyone and welcome to another tutorial with Beads Jar. I'm Natalia and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this sapphire sparkle cuff. So we'll be using a cuff form and we'll be adding crystal clay and very glittery Swarovski elements here with this chaton mix. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that to create this very high-end vintage looking piece. So let's see what you'll need to make this piece of jewellery. Ingredients that you're going to need to make the sapphire sparkle cuff. First of all, we have our crystal clay, and this is 2-part epoxy clay. It doesn't need any kind of curing other than just leaving it to dry overnight, and we're going to use it in this gold colour. Next we have our Swarovski chaton mix. So these are a mixture of different sizes and shapes of chatons, and they've got pointed backs and then the gorgeous Swarovski glitter on the front of them. So they're a mixture of from a very pale kind of aquamarine through to this deep sapphire blue. We're going to use all of those in the cuff. This is the cuff blank that you're going to need, which is a brass bracelet cuff. It's concave, so you can see that that indent is where we're going to place our crystal clay, and this is 1/2 inch wide. And then finally, the secret ingredient that works so well with the crystal clay are baby wipes. I'll show you how we're going to use those in this project. So let's get started. So this is the crystal clay, and I'm just going to open the packet and show you what you actually get inside here. So we have our instruction leaflet, which is very comprehensive. It shows you all of the different steps to get the very most out of your clay. And then we have our crystal clay itself. So let me just open this up and show you what you get in here. So you get part A and part B. And we will only pinch off enough for whatever we need to surround the cuff with. And so one of them is a resin, one is a hardener, and when they're combined together, when you combine equal amounts of these, then it begins to cure, and the curing process takes about 2.5 hours. So you've got 2 to 2.5 hours working time with this, and then it's dry within about 14 to 16 hours. This kit also comes with your little crystal setter, and this is a nifty little tool. It's like a piece of wood, and then it has this wax on the end of it. So the first thing that you'll need to do is just to hold the wax in your fingers and soften it up, and it becomes a little bit sticky and tacky. So just mold it and do that with your fingers, and it softens up really quickly. It's very warm in the studio, so this has been softening up itself anyway. And what you do is you put your chatons out, and then you just literally touch the top of the chaton and it sticks to the wax. It's very, very simple and very, very effective. The other thing that you're going to need that comes in this kit, this literally has everything, are these gloves. So believe me that you will need to use these gloves, even if you don't like latex gloves. Just be careful if you are allergic to latex. You might need to find another option. But the crystal clay is very, very sticky, and the idea of it is that it sticks the chatons in and holds onto them, grips them really well, and grips onto the surface of whatever you're putting the crystal clay on. But it will stick to your fingers, and it's not very pleasant. So hence why we need to use the gloves. So I'm just going to pop these gloves on, and then we will open the packets of clay. Now, the other thing to note here is to make sure that you use the crystal clay in a well-ventilated area. Okay, so once we've got our gloves on, I'm going to open part A up. I might actually need some scissors to do this. I suggest that you do. Make it a little bit easier. So just unwrapping our part A. and then part B. So make sure that you, when you store these again, you could wrap some cling film or saran wrap around them. And that would keep them nice and hydrated, so you can use them again. So only use what you need for this project. It's being a little tricky. Ah, there we go. Trying to get that in there. Okay. So they are very slightly different in colour. I don't know if you'll notice that because our lights are so bright here. And I'm going to pinch off about half of each. So you've got plenty left for other projects here. You just want to make sure you've got roughly the same amounts. It doesn't matter if they're just slightly not enough, slightly different amounts. And then you're going to mix them together. Now, because these two pieces are very similar in colour, you may not be able to see on screen. Well, perhaps you can. There's a little marbling difference there, so it means that it's not mixed up enough. So I'm going to keep mixing until we get a very clear colour all the way through. So I'm going to keep mixing this. You spend about a minute doing it, and then come back when the clay is thoroughly mixed. So we've mixed our crystal clay together thoroughly, and I'm going to bring the bracelet blank in now. So let's just roll the crystal clay like a sausage and get it to the length of the cuff roughly. Just going to check that. So I just need to roll it a little bit longer, and then I'm going to just press that onto the cuff. And you'll see that what is happening is we're just feeding the clay into the cuff and getting it in place. So what you don't want is you don't want parts of the cuff that are thicker than others. So you want to make sure that you've got even amounts of clay all the way around the cuff. You want it to look as though it's all part of the same thing. So we've got quite a lot on this end bit, so I'm just going to pinch a little bit off. Set that to one side. And don't worry if you're seeing that the clay's looking a little bit mangled and a little bit rough where I've got my finger marks on it. Just spend the time working the clay around the cuff and getting it evenly distributed. Any areas where there's a little bit too much of it, just pinch those off, like here, sliding some clay off the side. And when I first had a first go with crystal clay, I found it really sticky and really temperamental to work with, and I was thinking, how do I get it to be not crinkled and creased like it is there? And one of the best ways that I found was the baby wipe. So that is what I'm going to show you now. So we'll take our baby wipe, just pull one out, just put your finger over the baby wipe and then just start to smooth the clay, and you'll see that anywhere where you've got creases and roughness, if you just rub the baby wipe over it, it starts to smooth the clay out. So it means that you can use your finger to get the clay exactly how you want it. So it really does work. It's amazing. And it doesn't seem to affect the clay whatsoever. So that's one of the things that I did wonder when I was experimenting with the baby wipe. Will it affect the clay? Will it affect curing? And absolutely not. And it does mean that what you do find is you get this really wonderful finish, which is what you're looking for. You want something that looks very professional. So I'm going to use the baby wipe all the way along to get the crystal clay just how I want it. Make it look really even. You can see the difference there, can't you? Where it's very smooth and where it's quite ragged and not perfect. And although I'm using the crystal clay for a cuff, it will literally stick to anything. So it has wonderful bonding abilities. And if you've been using Swarovski crystals with polymer clay, one of the things that you may find is, you're having to bake the polymer clay, and so the worry is that the crystals may get damaged. You don't have to bake this crystal clay, you just literally leave it in a place at room temperature to cure, and it will harden on its own, because the bonding is taking place right now as we speak, as I'm smoothing this. And it's activated by the two parts being joined together and mixed together. So if that happens and you damage your clay at all, you can just smooth it out again. So there we go. So once you're happy that you've got the cuff exactly smooth and lovely as you'd like it, I'm just going to do that a little bit more there. Just have a double check around, make sure that you're happy with how the clay is sitting on top of the cuff. I'm just going to place that down, and I'm going to take my chaton mix now and empty it out onto the table. Just bring those over. So ideally, if you could get them to turn over, you can see all the different colours, particularly these bigger ones, because the bigger ones are the ones that you want to be adding to your cuff to start with. So when you take your plotter tool, your gemstone putter, and I'm going to take this big oval shape first. Can you see how easily it sticks? And those gemstones are quite light, and I'm going to place that right in the center, and you just push that down. Once I've got it a certain way in, I'm just going to use my fingers to push it down all the way, because you want the pointed end to go deeply into the clay. So roughly the flat tabletop is roughly aligned with the crystal clay. And wherever you've got this kind of bulging happening, where you put the gem into the clay, you can just smooth again around it. And one thing that I would say to you is you can just take your time. If there's any residue of the wax on top of the gem, you can just use the baby wipe to get rid of that. So we've got all these different shapes, and the best way is to literally put them in randomly. So oops, I just dropped that one. Let's pick it up again. And I'm leaving a little space between those two, and then you can see where you can add some smaller stones to fill in the gaps. So I'm going to take one of my little stones there and push it in. And the baby white really helps to just push in again, and then make sure that any little gaps between the stones are smoothed over really perfectly. We've got some of these baguette shaped stones, which are really nice when they're sideways on. Just make sure that you don't place the stone too close to one of the others. And work your way along the cuff, just adding stones of different sizes. We've got some really tiny ones here. I can put a little tiny one in that space there, and I've got this lovely long baguette, so I'm going to put that right there. So the design just evolves as you go along. It's really nice to do it this way as well, because it has this vintage look about it, where the crystal is embedded, encrusted with all of these beautiful gemstones, and it just all works together. The colours have been chosen for you, so they really do look good. Another one over here. And that is literally how you do it. So work your way along both sides of the cuff, filling in, and I can guarantee that you will have enough chaton to fill the whole cuff. But what I would recommend is to spend your time really making sure that you cover as much of the center of the cuff, because that's what you're going to see most. That is the middle of the cuff that's going to be sitting on the wrist. Now when you've finished and you've embedded all of your stones in there, just run a fresh baby wipe all the way along the surface, over the tops of the stones, make sure everything is embedded really nicely. And what I did was I just popped this onto the edge of a coffee cup, just to support it so that it wasn't actually touching anything. Now it will be touch dry after about 3 or 4 hours, but don't attempt to wear it, and give it a good 24 hours curing time to make sure that the cuff is completely cured. And I'm going to just take these gloves off because they're very, very, very hot, and show you the finished piece. And you can see the colour really doesn't change that much of the clay. It has this golden tinge, this light sandy tinge, but it goes with those blues so beautifully. And the cuff really has the wow factor. You can see that I've encrusted most concentration of crystals in the middle there, where it's going to be on the wrist, and then I've just done sort of tapered out at the ends. So the best thing is to add stones on either side so that you've got a nice symmetrical thing going on. Don't do one side and then you run out of stones. But you can see I've used the whole chaton mix on there, and it really doesn't look like it's got sparsity at all, does it? I just wanted to show you also another piece that I'd done, and that one is using the gold again, and I've used a green mix there, so you can see how great the greens look with the gold. This is a Tibetan bronze coloured heart. It's got a concave surface as well, so you can literally use the clay with anything. It will stick to it and it will create some very, very beautiful effects. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's inspired you to create your own beautiful piece of jewellery with Swarovski elements, crystal clay. As you can see from the video, the sky's the limit, and it's a really easy substance to use and to add as an addition to your jewellery making. Just have a look at the drop-down menu and you'll see links to our website and all of the different pieces that I've used in this creation. And please be sure to comment, like, share this video and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any future tutorials. So we'll be back soon with more inspiration. Bye for now.